We're less than 1 week into 2024, and those New Year's resolutions are being put to the test. We love to set them every year, but we're not as good at sticking with them. So what's the deal? I mean, why even set the resolutions if they're just going to fade by February? So here to weigh in with some tips on making and sticking to your resolutions, we have licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Nicole Rantilla. Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming in this morning.
Thanks.
Okay, so first let's talk about why New Year's resolutions usually fail. Is it because they're unrealistic? What makes them unrealistic?
A lot of times what makes New Year's resolutions not work out well for people is because we're coming right off the holidays of celebration, eating, having parties, and we tend to want to overcorrect because sometimes we got a little too much of a good thing. So everyone sets these really lofty goals without an action plan of how to achieve them. So I think sometimes people just go in overcorrecting from the previous year, from the holidays, and it doesn't set up a realistic plan.
Now, some of the, or really many of the New Year's resolutions are to be healthier, to get back in shape, to get your weight down, or, what have you. And that seems like a really realistic goal. But could it be that there are sometimes when people are looking at where they are and then the distance of where they want to be, and maybe they get discouraged in that process, is maybe why sometimes the resolutions fail? Or
I think that's a really good reason why some things don't work out sometimes, is because they have this goal, but then it's important to recognize the milestones along the way so that you know you're heading in the right direction. We are people who we really like some immediate feedback, and so one of the things that I encourage is consistency. What are the consistent things you can do in service of your goal on a daily basis? And if you can do that, then you can be proud of the consistency along the way to that bigger goal.
And, so then with getting discouraged with those goals, you were just kind of getting into some of the tips about how they can, stay on track and even stay, encouraged going forward toward those goals. Do you have anything else that you can add? Maybe how important is it that someone makes a plan to approach their goal in a way that is attainable?
Right. So the number one thing I would say is be consistent. What are you going to do every day? We tend to be more successful the more consistent we are in healthy behaviors. I would also identify small steps along the way. If your goal is that you want to be someone who works out 7 times a week, can you start at 4? If you want to lose 10 pounds, can you focus on that first 2? And set those goals realistically. For instance, with weight, we don't really want to lose more than 1 to 2 pounds a week. Anything other than that becomes more difficult to sustain. So the slower progress sometimes really paints a picture and paves the way for better progress overall.
Okay, so it sounded like slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady will always win, because you're more likely to say, I want to be at that gym 3 times a week and be successful, than say 7, because we all have a lot of other obligations, and 7 might be really lofty.
Yeah.
So start small and then reinforce yourself by building up. If I can rock 3 days, I bet I can rock 4.
And so is there a way, or maybe is that the way that people can incorporate it into their everyday lives without it seeming like a chore, something to check off the list that they dread doing every day?
I think, that's the hard part of it, is that I think if we look at exercise or eating healthy as temporary, it's easy to lose track of it. If we look at moving our bodies, putting healthy nutrition and fuel into our bodies as a lifestyle, we're more likely to be successful, because these shouldn't be temporary things. Being healthy humans is good for our mental health, our emotional health. And so if we can see, first of all, the bigger picture, and second of all, see them as ways to be instead of temporary ways to achieve a short goal, we're way more likely to be successful.
Yeah, and then maybe even hold on to those results for a little while and not have to keep restarting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, as someone who loves to exercise and move myself, is take a moment after that workout and think about how great you feel. That transformation after that half-hour, 45-minute class. And really, whether you journal it or just take stock of it, notice the emotional and psychological benefits too, because those are huge for us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming in, giving us these tips that are much needed. Let's make 2024 a better year than all the others.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again so much, Jimmy. Let's get another check of that forecast.
Our forecast today does involve some snow for our afternoon, and we could even see some snow for our day on Sunday as well. That snowfall will start